Yeah, well, it's like, well, it's like, yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Benjamin Jenks. This is Adventure Sauce. I have the pleasure of having Tyler Tervooren. Tervooren? Is that right?
Tervooren. Almost got it.
Okay, Tervooren with me today. He is a professor of riskology, and he blogs at advancedriskologist.com. Tyler has done some impressive stuff. Let me just list off a couple of things here and hopefully make you blush. Tyler has ran a marathon on 3 continents, including through a South African game reserve. He's bought 15 grand in a day, and he can teach you how to save $130,000 with one simple action. Basically, Tyler is someone I look up to online, and he can teach you how to do scary things to improve your life. I'm going to try to pick his brain to learn a little bit more, to help you and to help myself. I'm pleased to have you with me today, Tyler. Thank you very much. And first question. At a party, when people ask you what you do, what do you say?
Yeah, I still haven't. This is something I've been working on since the very, very beginning, and I still don't have a good answer. I usually just say something like, "Oh, I work online" or something, and it depends. So that's like a good first answer, because if they're just asking because if they're just making a formality, then it's just like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
And if they're actually interested, then they pry a little bit deeper, and then I can tell them a little bit more about it. And if they're actually interested, then they can hear the whole story.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of my litmus test. Is I just say, "Oh, I work online."
Nice. Have you ever came up with something crazy? Because I have the same problem, but I feel like a couple times I came up with some genius answer. Did that ever happen to you, where you were like, "I'm a professor of riskology"?
Yeah. So that's that was kind of the whole title Professor of Riskology was kind of a joke slightly gone wrong. So when I first started it, I gave myself this title of Professor of Riskology, and it was totally meant to be total hijinks. It was not meant to be serious in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can't remember who it was, but somebody with a much larger audience than me called me that one time on Twitter, and ever since then that's what people have identified me as online now.
Nice.
I'm just oh, all right, just let it run with it, I guess.
Nice. Well, excellent. I guess, and like I was telling you earlier, one thing I love about your site is that you focus on risk. And maybe it'd help my viewers if you talked a little bit about what a riskologist is, or what is it that you focus on helping people with?
Yeah. So a riskologist is somebody who studies the art and science of risk taking and of doing scary things. Essentially, the idea is the whole idea behind the site is that I learned the site is kind of a reflection of my own experiences, that I tend to learn and grow the most, and I enjoy my life the most when I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone and doing things that I would not normally do, without some prodding. So the whole site is dedicated to figuring out new and better ways to actually get yourself to do these things that you want to do but haven't become comfortable with yet. So that's the whole premise of the site. And then we call ourselves riskologists because we're kind of constantly studying the psychological tweaks and the little things that you can do to get better at that.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Was there a light from heaven moment where you came up with this idea, or was this? How did you come up with the conclusion that risk was essential?
Yeah, it wasn't it certainly wasn't a beam from heaven or anything.
Yeah.
It was more it was a slow and gradual realization, really. It was it's something, I don't know, I think it's it's something that I've always known my whole life, but it's, in fact, this is all very meta, all right, because just the site existing in itself is kind of a manifestation of the whole idea of figuring out how to do these things that you're scared to do. Mm-hmm. So I always wanted to have some type of legacy project in place that I could where I could put my thoughts and things. And I'd been too scared to do it for a long time. And then what precipitated it was getting laid off from my job in early 2010. And so I spent about a month. I knew I kind of had some I dabbled in blogging earlier, but never had any success with it. But I realized that I enjoyed writing, but I had no idea how to do it successfully. And so I started reading a whole bunch of other people's sites and learning about creative writing and all that kind of stuff. And I sat down for about a month. And I just wrote all these stories that I could think of from my life so far. And I tried to, over time, I started to develop this theme where all of the stories that I enjoyed writing the most and seemed like the most interesting stories were the ones when I was, taking a risk or doing something unusual. And so when I went back through them, I kind of saw this, this path that I could trace and say, all right, well, this kind of makes sense. And I got more and more excited about it, and as I started to tell more and more people about it, other people seemed to resonate with it as well. So I thought, well, this is probably the path I need to go down. I felt very strongly about it, and I wasn't sure if anybody else was going to get it. But so that was a big I don't want to say relief, but a kind of one of those click over moments where you realize, all right, I'm not the only person who feels like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, cool, excellent. So I'm guessing that a lot of people don't take risks is because they're afraid of some crazy bad consequence, right? They're gonna die, they're gonna live in a van down by the river.
Yeah, right.
Any risk you've taken, has there been negative consequences? Is there another side beside saving $133,000?
Yeah, of course. And I try to be, I try to be very honest when I write as well on the site. Not everything is puppies and butterflies and candy canes and things.
Although we wish they were, right?
Oh, right. But without the bitter, there is no sweet. So you have to take a little bit of that into consideration as well. So, no, there's been times just on my last trip through Africa and Europe when I was doing that marathon that you were talking about.
Yeah.
I had a couple of different experiences where, I ended up, kind of rolling the dice on a last minute plane change or something, trying to get to somewhere new and do something different. And it didn't work out. I spent a bunch of extra money and lost a whole bunch of opportunities.
Okay.
And these things happen though. It's just kind of the idea is to tip the scale towards awesome. Mm-hmm. If you know what I mean. You do little things here and there as much as possible with the idea that, if you keep doing more and more, you're going to get better at it. And then you're also going to, over time do these little tiny things are going to add up to much, much bigger things. And they also prepare you to take bigger leaps and take bigger and bigger ones and get better at doing that. So the idea is to, there's no way to avoid screwing up and losing out once in a while. That's part of living life. Mm-hmm. But the idea is that we can over time, with practice, tip the scale in the direction of good.
Mm-hmm. So no lions, were close to grabbing you while you were running.
No, I don't. Maybe they tell this to every group who goes through, but they said that they had a lion that walked through the course when the runners were on. They were trying to they were afraid it was going to eat somebody. I think it was mostly a tale to rile us up that they tell everybody who goes through.
Yeah, probably to get you by maybe something there at the gift shop maybe.
Well, I did have to run by a rhinoceros. So that was...
yeah, nice. So, okay, a big thing I feel like is holding people back is how do they make a living, And does taking risks pay well, and how do you support yourself?
So that's I think that's a two-part question.
Yeah.
Does taking risks pay a living? The answer is both yes and no. Mm-hmm. So yes, in the sense that I'm able to parlay my experiences and these kinds of this thing into tangible products and services and things that I can sell, and then risk is very it's a very broad subject. So Hey.
Yeah, I'm in the Baja and no one else is working, so they're all hanging out. Hey,
No worries.
thanks, Mark.
No worries. Yeah, so risk is such like a broad and diverse subject that you could look at it as investing or something, investing money. Like that's a risk that can potentially pay the bills, and I make a little bit of money like through investments. It's not something I normally talk about on advanced riskology,
Right?
But then there's like risks like talking to a stranger on the street. That's probably not going to he's probably not going to pull out like a $20 bill and hand it to you.
Yeah.
So, but these things all put together, the idea of taking risks, just the idea of it, eventually leads to, if you're smart about it and you do and you do a few things to protect yourself along the way, yeah, it can lead to a decent income. It has led to a sustainable, decent income for me, and I think that's because I don't know, I can't say exactly why that is, except for that I feel like the site Advanced Riskology at least has resonated with people in a way that has allowed me to kind of take those experiences and help more people with them. Mm-hmm. That's kind of the basis of making a living anywhere, is just figuring out how to help people.
Yeah, and that's definitely like one thing I feel on your site is there's a lot of like practical, actionable things that is interesting to read and is also very helpful to people. So.
Yeah, that's a just real quick. I'll throw a shout out to Chris Gillibo, who kind of taught me that through his work very early on. Is that especially in the world of the written language, and writing and blogging, all this kind of stuff. The most important thing you can do is tell a good story and teach people something. Because anybody can teach you something, but they might bore the hell out of you while they're doing it. Anybody can tell a good story, but if there's not something tangible for you in that story, then it's going to go in one ear and out the other. But if you can put those two together, then you've got something really good.
And that's, Chris Gillibo, if you guys don't know, is one of the most popular bloggers online that makes a living helping change people's lives. And he's been influential in my own work too. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that right there is a very helpful piece of info. You teach online courses as one way to make a living. You have a guide or a course called the Bootstrappers Guild, which is about building a very small, profitable business. What's the most powerful benefit of taking that course?
Of going through the Bootstrapper Guild?
Yeah.
Well, I think it depends on what type of, it depends on what you're looking for, really, but the whole concept behind the Bootstrapper Guild is that business does not have to be big, it does not have to be scary, it does not have to be full-time, it does not have to be expensive. There are literally millions of ways to start a business on the side, doing very small things that basically come as second nature to you, if you learn how to distill the unique talents that you have into a tangible sort of product or service that you use to help people. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. I think that I don't know. I would say that the most beneficial thing that most people who go through it say is that it helped them kind of identify what their talent is, because most people I don't know, it seems like at least most people these days want to start a business. They have a vague idea of what steps they need to go through in order to do that, but a lot of people get hung up trying to just pick something and go forward with it. So we do a lot of work in identifying exactly what that one thing should be. Mm-hmm. And then there's lots of people in the group who also do multiple things, and that's the beauty of running what we call a micro business. Is they're so small usually that you can do many of them and see which ones work and let go of other ones, and it's very, very organic. Like the whole process it's all about regularly looking at your business and what you're doing and changing things to work better.
Awesome. So they don't necessarily need to be in love with risk, or maybe my thing would be hitchhiking or strange ways of travel, but whatever it is they're into, you would look into that and figure out what it is their talents are and help them work with that to make money from doing that.
Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, exactly. That's the idea. Anybody like, I mean, there's a certain risk involved, whether it be money or time, and no matter in anything you do in life, including running a business. What we try to do in the Bootstrapper Guild is eliminate as much of those risks as possible. Identify and then eliminate as much as possible. So the idea is the business you start is going to be very lean and cost very little run, and then you're also going to figure out ways to run your business efficiently so that you're not wasting tons of time on an idea that's not going to work.
Awesome. That's excellent. Final question. What is the one action that readers could take right now towards adding risk to their life? Is there some action that you would recommend people taking as a first step?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's very generic, though. It's anything, and it's the smallest one possible. So, I feel like the biggest hurdle, hurdle that most people face when they want to do something like this, is they get this idea of what they want the end goal to be. And then they have a very, very hard time taking the step to get to that end goal. They try to create one step between here and there and say, I need to do this to get from here to here. And in reality, there's usually dozens or hundreds even of steps between here and here. So whatever is up here on this pedestal for you, cut that in half about 1,000 times until you have something that you can do in the next 5 minutes without any, you don't have to rely on anybody else to do anything for you. It doesn't cost any money. It doesn't take any more than 2 minutes. It's something you can do right now without thinking about, and go do that. And as soon as you do that, and have just the tiniest little bit of success with it, that gets the ball rolling. Then you can do one other little thing. It's 1,000 miles is a series of steps, right?
Awesome.
Many steps.
Yeah, that's great. I think that's great advice and a great place to end it. Everybody, this is Tyler Tervooren. Is that right? Yes.
Tervooren. No.
Almost. He's got a great mustache, and he runs a blog called AdvancedRiskology.com. I definitely recommend checking it out. And he also has a bunch of free guides there too. One of them is about instant adventure, about how to get started on an adventure. Another is about building a fuck you fund, in case you want to say F you to your boss. Tyler, anything else? No, yeah. Thanks so much for having me. I hope that whoever watches this gets a lot of enjoyment out of it and goes and does something awesome. Yeah, me too. Take care, guys.